have with us here in the studio live, Sarah Gershfeld. Welcome.
Thank you.
And you are from Love My Provider. Please tell us what Love My Provider is, because I love it.
Thank you. So Love My Provider is essentially your Yelp rating site for families who have special needs children. So my background is I'm a clinician. I've worked with children on the spectrum for years. I've worked with insurance companies, regional centers, school districts. And as I've worked with a lot of those different funding sources, I've realized there's this huge disparity with the quality of services that exist out there for children on the spectrum. And I realized that when a parent first gets diagnosed, they get this long list of providers that they could choose from. And what I realized is that they typically talk to other parents to figure out what provider they should go with, or they have to call every single one of them by themselves and figure it out from scratch. So they're essentially doing the work over again that many parents have already done. And so when I was looking at this problem, I realized it's so easy for us to go on Yelp and find a hamburger joint that everyone likes. And why shouldn't it be that easy to make an actually important decision, like which provider your child is going to be seeing for the next year or two? So I came up with this idea of creating this Yelp-like site, and it's officially live as of last week. It's called Love My Provider, so you can go online and check it out. You can search for providers. Right now we have behavior analysts, we have occupational therapists, physical therapists, and speech therapists. And within the next few weeks, we'll be expanding out to dentists, doctors, and also trying to reach the greater Los Angeles area and beyond.
Remarkable. And so people can go to lovemyprovider.com and they have the opportunity to, there's a way that they can register so that they can, but you can see information right away, or do they have to register before they can?
We actually have a lot of information open to non-signed-in users, and we want parents to easily be able to access it. But what we've realized is that these families, if you notice, a lot of the providers are actually listed on Yelp. They just don't have any reviews. And we realized that they are not leaving reviews because they want to remain anonymous. They don't want their name attached to a review, because even if they're not happy with the provider, they still have to work with them.
Yes.
So they don't want to leave something there that'll be tied back to their name, and they're worried it might affect their services in some way. So we have the provider's information, which insurance companies and regional centers they work with. We have their address, their social media links, and a description. But in order to see their reviews, you actually have to sign in.
Okay,
so,
but there's no cost for that.
No,
we should let people know.
Service.
No cost for it at all, and it's a wealth of information. And if you already are working with a provider, you can go there and go in and rate your provider.
Sure. So because we're fairly new, we're really looking to parents to go online right now and start leaving their opinions. That's the first step. This is a resource that's necessary, but it can't be useful to new parents unless the parents who've already been there go in and leave their opinions about the experiences that they've had. There's also a function, if you don't see a provider listed, you can add one. So you can fill out a form and we'll quickly add the provider to the database. For the providers out there, if you see that your information's incorrect, you can go online and also switch your information so that you can update it. Maybe you're working with a new insurance company, or you no longer work with a particular school district, so that the information remains up to date.
I have to say, I just love this idea. And honestly, one of the things that I find really exciting, you and I went on the site together the other day, and I had said to you that it was last year that I was looking for an OT provider, and I didn't even know where to begin, and so I started making phone calls and asking other parents. But I loved that with you, I was able to go on, and not only could I see a bunch of OT providers, but I could see how far away they were. It gives me the mile rating of how close. And last night, I was in a back and forth email with a parent who had gotten a funding source that had hooked her up with a provider that is so far away from her that she's been having to drive an hour each way to get to the provider. And then she found out that a top quality provider is around the corner from her.
Oh, wow.
And now she's having to go through the process of trying to switch and justify to the funding source why she wants to switch. And it's really taxing, and she's saying she may lose her services for a period of time. And had she had the ability on that first day to go on your site and look at who are the ABA providers, how are they rated, and who's close to me, and look, there is a really great rated provider that's close to me, she could have saved herself all of this trouble and heartache, and the potential that she was saying to me this morning that she may lose therapy for as long as 6 months if she says, I don't want to travel that far.
Right, and that's definitely a problem that a lot of our families see, and I saw it firsthand as well. I noticed these families who were so unhappy, and they would try switching services, and even if they do spend those 6 months looking for a new provider or waiting, there's still parents who are just making the same decision because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to kind of stop the problem where it begins, as opposed to trying to backtrack once we realize that our kids are not working with the right people, or you know, there are some of those difficulties that they run into.
It seems like every autism parent at some point, the sentence comes out of your mouth, I just wish somebody had told me, right? And that's what Love My Provider does.
Yeah, we actually had an interesting collaboration with Northwestern University.
Yes.
So their business school has a research methodology class, and we were able to come in contact with them, and a group of very talented MBA students put together a comprehensive research study for us. And they interviewed about 300 parents who are on the spectrum, and really were able to identify what's most important for them in a provider, which are the most difficult providers for them to find. We also were able to identify the distance, for example, in terms of a rating, if you're looking for a provider, which are most important and least important. And the site is based on these studies. So it's really something that we really hope will address the needs of a lot of the families out there.
I absolutely love it, and really want to encourage people to go to this site, lovemyprovider.com. Participate. It really is as good as we will participate in it, and we all have a stake in this, because not only will it help us to make decisions in the future, and not only does it give us some recourse if you're working with a provider who isn't great, saving somebody else from doing it without affecting your relationship with the professionals that you're working with, but also I would imagine that providers are going to pay attention, and we want to be quality control and make sure that everybody's getting that quality ABA, and if they are aware of the fact that people can give them a lesser rating, maybe some of these ABA providers will clean up their act a little bit.
Yeah, and I think we don't want it to be this negative place at all.
No.
What we're finding is that a lot of these large companies out there, they have wait lists, they have a lot going on. And so I see this also as a storefront for these small businesses who might be doing a really great job, but no one knows about them. And if those small businesses go on and say, hey, you like our services, come share your story, then these parents who are sitting there on a 6-month waiting list can just go with a provider that might be doing just as good of a job.
Absolutely. It's a win-win-win-win. Well, we thank you for being with us, and we thank you for having this site and having somebody as knowledgeable as you be the person who's driving this site. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.